during your shedding process, and I'm talking about like, all right, Leah, it's me and God now. Like, God, I need you. God, I have all these people around me, but I still need you. Like, it is not enough. I need you to show up. I need you to be here. I need you to let me know what needs to be done. What was that?
For me, I came out of being in a dark place, a dark season, not just losing a parent, but just being faced with so many like obstacles, not knowing what to do as in career, being tied in this place, being tied in that place. And it kind of forced me to be like, okay, God, I done went to wise counsel. I done called mentors. I done called this one. I done did therapy, and nothing is working. I still feel the same. I talk to everybody. I journal. I'm stuck. What do I do? And from that, it was like, me and God I started to develop a better relationship with him. And then through my relationship with God, he started to just give me, little by little, and helping me get to that next place, if that makes sense. So yeah, I feel like, did that answer your question?
It did. Okay. And sometimes that next place is like physical, sometimes it's mental, and sometimes it's like emotional. And a lot of people don't understand that when we call out to God and ask him to show up, it'll force us to move out of spaces physically, mentally, spiritually.
And sometimes you call out to God, he'll prompt you to do some of the wildest things, like leave home. And when I say leave home, I mean leave spaces where you are comfortable and conditioned to doing things one way. Yeah.
And I feel like that it's God when those places that you are comfortable in, you start to feel a sense of offense, uncomfortability, a sense of not belonging. And it's not coming from a place of, I don't want it. It's coming from a place of God has more. And sometimes, no, not sometimes, most of the time, it is uncomfortable.
Super uncomfortable.
But when we don't move, when God tells us to move,
he'll force you out.
Baby.
And that force, that thing hurt. That's when you really start looking like, you don't love me.
Yeah.
If you love me as your child, how could you allow me to go through this? And he's like, well. And I feel like I can say for me personally, spaces, period, even relationships. Like, when I am comfortable in a thing, I am comfortable, meaning I am in it to the end. So I will give it my all. I am so loyal to a thing that sometimes in order for me to step out, I gotta be offended.
Yeah.
Like, I found myself offended out of a lot of spaces.
Relationships.
Lied on.
Yeah.
Like, God always has a way of getting me to move on. But for me, it's always through pain, because he understands that I'm a loyalist. I'm a lover. So I'm going to stay, and I'm going to be the one to say, oh, I see what the problem is, but I think we could work through it. I think something can be done different. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
Listen to me, and I'm telling you to go.
Yeah. And I feel like he'll make that pain unbearable for you.
Yeah. To the point where you gotta go.
You have to go, and you have to rely on him for what's next.
And it's like, I didn't tell you to go talk to nobody else about it. I didn't tell you to talk to, like, literally, there were times when I couldn't even talk to my parents, because I knew that they would come from a sense of, like, a place of, we're your parents, and we think you should do this. And it's like, no, this is literally between me and God, and I have to just allow him to guide me. And when people say, but you should do it this way, or why are you choosing that way? It's like, just pray for me, because I'm literally following God. And then I'm like, God, am I hearing you right? Because I'm looking like a fool, because I'm stepping out of this boat knowing I cannot swim.
Yeah. And we'll look like a fool a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But do we mind looking like a fool for God?
Then maybe I was like, oh no, this is not good. I'm not used to this. But now, I look like a fool every single time for this
that
piece.
That part, yes. This piece.
This piece that I have, this joy and chaos.
I'll look red wig.
No, for real. I will.
Like, listen, God, if you said you're going to grant me this, and this is what I need to do, then so be it.
Give me the costume.
That's it. It's funny, because I was talking to someone, and I was sharing with them just like, we were catching up, and they were asking, like, oh, how are you doing with this, and so on and so on. So I'm like, things are fine, things are okay. And in the midst of me sharing a situation that had happened, in that moment, I realized that it had to happen. Sometimes when we form relationships with people, we form relationship with places, we form relationships with things. And so when it's time to cut ties, and in that moment when God has given us the first, time to let go, we're just like, I don't think that's accurate. That's not you, God. And then it's like, you get another nudge, and then it's like, time to let go. And you're like, God, I can't. Like, I'm a little too comfortable. Like, I don't know anything else. But then he give you that third nudge. It's like one for the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Like, pick you up off the seat, like, get out.
Move.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can hurt. And just...
if you don't have a strong, like, foundation, it could really cause you to start questioning your faith, or like, I don't know if I want to do this journey anymore. Because again, people people talk about the beauty in the faith, but no one talks about the process being hard and the challenges and the tests that come with it. Yeah. So we always hear like people's testimonies of the end result, but nobody tells you when you choose to really follow God, like you gotta suffer, you gotta go through, you gotta be hurt, you gotta be abused, you gotta be offended. Like no one talks about that. So when you find yourself in a space where you're experiencing that, it causes you to look at God different. Like this ain't the God that I hear about. The God that is so loving and so gracious to this is something ain't clicking. Like either they lied or it kind of,
it gotta make sense.
You start wandering and start being real confused.
So I think that's why it's important to, like, when we are building communities, back to like what you're in school for, when we are building these communities, transparency is always important, but to share the importance of the transparency, like be honest. Be honest. When these people come into your communities, your churches, your organizations, let them know the truth. And it's not a lie that God is this amazing God, and he's going to show up and he's going to be there for you, because he is, because that's what he says. But there's more. Like, there's more. If we see that Christ went through.
You took the words out. I was about to say
what in the world?
And he suffered real well.
Real well. What in the world makes us think we're exempt? However, there's a promise to us that we win. Yeah, that promise will be there, but also keep in mind there's a process that we go through. Yeah.
And I tell myself every day, I'm like, everything great, everyone great has to process, has to go through process. There's no way out of that. Like, there's no way around process.
Yeah. Like, you have to do it.
Like, I love the song Great Is Coming by Jacqueline.
Bruh.
When she talks about the oil, like the processing.
Do you remember when you danced to that? You remember your solo part?
If it had not been for the shade.
Oh my.
Oh yes. I love that song from a child, but now it hit different. When I hear that song now, I'm like, whoa. Like,
yep. Even some of the old hymns that we hear as adults and having gone through, some things hit different. Completely different.
He's like, ooh, I was singing that at 7? I didn't even know what I was talking about.
And now that you older, it's like you hear it and you start crying, you start weeping, like, okay, yeah. They hit a lot different.
They sure do.
But it's necessary. At one point, did you accept God's plan? At what point where you were like, all right, like, if this is what you're calling me to do, if this is what you have me to do, then I'm going to do it. After saying, God, this is uncomfortable. God, I feel lonely. Are you sure?
The exact moment is when I had 24 hours to respond to my school. Because in my mind, when I heard Chicago, I thought that meant pack your bags and go. But it was like, no, there is another way where you can still do the program that I'm saying you can do, but you're going to commute. And I was like, commute? I want to move. Like, I want to move. And at that point, I'm like, you already done... No shade. You already done took my daddy. What's left? Yeah. Like, I need a new life. I need a new start. I cannot heal in the environment where I was hurt. I need to move. And it was like, nothing was working out. And it was like, you have 24 hours to respond, or you are going to have to wait to the final year to start. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing that, because then I'm not going to go back. So in that moment, I was like, all right, God, fine. Yeah. Paper signed. I'm going to commute.
During these moments of finding your joy in chaos, I'm sure, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it takes a toll on one, physical, mental, and emotional. Can you speak to where you were with those three things?
Physically, I think I did a good job maintaining my physical. I was always taught to put my best foot forward. You don't wear what you're going through, like I previously mentioned. So that part was always secure.
Why is that important?
why it's important to do that.
Yeah. Because it is. It's very important.
Yeah, but I also think that comes with the honesty, the transparency part, where we're taught to do that, but it's not the most healthy thing. And just because I'm down doesn't mean I gotta look like I'm down, but I shouldn't be forced to put this big old, like fake look on or mask on.
Yeah.
With knowing well behind there, I'm broken, I'm crushed. You know what I mean? But that's just something that we're taught. And I guess someone needs to say it stops with me.
Right. The saying, you don't always have to look like what you're going through.
Yeah, like you don't have to wear what you're going through. And I'm like, but maybe if someone else saw that I was comfortable, looking like what I'm going through for a little bit, then it would be, inspiring to them to understand, like, it's okay. Because you only know after you suffer just a little while, then
exactly
later on you will enter your glory season,
all I need is time.
Yeah, just time. It's a process.
Time.
And if I see where you start and I see where you end up, then that's also inspiration that her process looked one way, my process will look one way, but we both make it to the end.
Yeah.
But then you see people that's always looking so elevated and so put together that you be like, I didn't even know they was dealing with that.
Right. And then you cut yourself short of prayers, support. So I think it's important. And I'm not saying, like you said, to throw on this big old T-shirt that says "Help me, I'm poor," right? Like, that's not what I'm saying.
But you shouldn't be forced either to like maintain a look that doesn't really match where you are currently.
And if I look like I'm going through, it's because I'm going through. Help me now.
If I say it's my community, just come and say hey. But then also that goes back to not having safe space. Because if you have safe space where that is promoted, then people will feel comfortable coming as they are,
right? And
not feeling like they have to put on a whole costume and act like something they're not.
Yeah, you don't know how many times I've heard going through things. I wouldn't necessarily show it through my attire, but I wear my emotions on my face completely. If I'm not happy in a moment, I'm not gonna smile. So please don't expect that from me. Naturally, I would smile, right?
You used to be like, fix your face. I'm like,
my face is fixed. Leave me alone.
This is how I feel.
Yeah, and it's okay. Now, if you see there's something wrong or you see that there's something out of the norm, come greet me. Come hug me.
Right.
Come say a silent prayer.
Respectfully, because if not, you will get the
that part. Like respect the space that I'm in, and you can
sacred.
Exactly. You can do it different ways. You can see that I'm not where I normally am, and pray for me from a distance, or come into my space if you're that person and greet me and hug me and encourage me. Tell me it's gonna be okay.
That's true.
So it's like, yeah, I can go on and on about that. But, okay, so that's the physical, and I completely agree with you. I don't always have to dress up my issues, and I'm not. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'm at that point now. I'm not Band-Aiding anything.
No, nor am I.
This is what it is.
Yeah, nor am I going to stay in the house.
Because I understand now this is a part of my process that is preparing me for where I'm headed. So and someone needs to see this.
Yes, and the important part is you know that you're heading somewhere. You know that it's a process, so it's not going to stay there. I think that's the beauty in it. Yes, that's the beauty in it too. It's like, this is a process. This is not your end all be all. You know that there's greater. I just got to go through. And if you see me going through, be mindful.
I celebrate my suffering. That probably sounds wild to somebody.
A little bit, but
I think
explain that.
When I say that, I mean, because you know how people say, that goes back to me saying process, right? So I say, if God is gracious enough to grant me with this process in this moment of suffering, it's because he trusts me enough that what he's about to give me at the end of my suffering, I can handle.
Girl.
Because if I could be like still, and I could be, what's the word I'm looking for? And I could be sustainable, if that makes sense, in this moment of suffering, then he's like, oh, she can handle this. Because I know no matter which way the storms and the winds blow, she's confident in her firm foundation. So I celebrate my suffering. I'm like, oh, another test, something good must be coming. Right. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
That's perspective.
That's how you have to look at it. And that's how you should look at it.
And that's through experiences. I didn't come out my mom's womb saying, oh yeah, this is how. No, I grew there through my experiences, all the challenges and the obstacles. I realized that on the other side,
there's glory.
There shall be glory after this. I changed the tune, but the key.
Yes. And then what would you say your emotional part
Emotional?
would be?
I guess emotional and mental kind of can go into each other.
Okay.
In a sense. Emotionally, child. Again, I was kind of same as physical. You learn how to Band-Aid and cry behind closed doors, and then like there were times at work where I would have little moments and I would go in the bathroom and I would get myself together and I would come back up like superheroes here. And I was kind of like but I don't have to be like this. And then I love the fact that I had a community, for example, at work that was like, you don't have to put on a, you know, if you ever feel like you're having a moment, like lean in on us, like pull us in. And that really kind of gave me a safe space to be like, you know, I can still come to work and be vulnerable. I can still come into this space and be, you know, and show where I am right now. Today's one of those days. I'm here, tell my kids I'm here, but at the same time, my emotions are everywhere today. And I had the ability to be honest because that space was created. Mentally, I mean, you get shamed, you get ridiculed, you get told therapy, you know, Jesus in therapy. And I'm all for that. But at the same time, I can say therapy did not help me. So when therapy couldn't help me during COVID, I knew therapy couldn't help me during grief. So did I go to therapy? No, never happened. So what you see is me and Jesus.
I was about to say, so let's be clear. What helped you?
What you see is me and Jesus literally taking this day by day. He is my therapist. I don't go to therapy because I just feel like, for what? It works for who it works for. I feel like in the space I'm in right now, it just doesn't work for me. It didn't work for me then. And not to say like, oh, you should just try again. No, thank you. I just feel like I ain't gonna say too much because, you know, I don't want to offend nobody who goes to therapy. But like I said, it works for who it works for. And I feel like it just doesn't work for me. What I need to hear, what I need to, like, the things I want to talk about, I can't. And let's say maybe I just haven't found the therapist that can really help me with my issues, if that makes sense. Or speak to me in a way where I understand and I'm comfortable speaking to them in a way that I feel.
And that's real, because I have a therapist, but I go to my therapist for very specific things.
And then only.
Exactly. And then I know that there's things that, I'm going to God for everything, including when I'm going to the therapist about, but there's specific things that I go to my therapist about, and there are things that I know I'm like, you will not be my counsel for this. But like that's completely fair.
Like for me, I feel like when it comes to mental, I think a lot of my mental problems were people telling me I should go to therapy for the fact that I was telling them that I felt like I had a gift and they couldn't help me. And I'm like, well, you telling me to therapy, but therapy can't help me with that. Therapy is for, you know, helping people balance, you know, their emotions and navigating through tough seasons and all that good stuff. They can't help me with the fact that I'm a dreamer. They're going to just tell me, oh, what did you eat last night? That's not something for therapy. So I think a lot of times we push people to go to therapy, but it's like, what are they going to therapy for? Because this might not be a therapeutic thing or something that necessarily needs therapy. It might be something that just needs some, you know, some prayer, some training, some guidance, you know, especially when it's spiritual.
And if you're being forced to go to therapy for your gift, why not just go to the gift giver?
Which is Jesus. The Christ.
Like, why not? Like, where's the harm? Not to say people don't go to therapy to figure out, like, what their process is to cultivate their gift. Like, not to say that at all. But, like, what is the harm? And, like, why would you be redirected to?
I never understood that. I'm like, why would I go to therapy for my gift?
So your thought process, everything that you are sharing now, have you ever felt comfortable enough or have given the space to actually share it, to like be heard and understood? Not because it's your story, but because your story can help someone else, or because your process can help someone else. Your testimony can literally help someone else.
Right now. On this podcast, A&B Conversations. I feel like this is probably like my entrance, I would say, to me. Entering that season where I am, one, healed enough to share. Because I never want to share from a place of hurt or bitterness, because I don't want it to be perceived, you know, because some people use outlets and for the wrong things, the wrong reasons. And I always tell God, like, I do want to share my story because I understand, like, everything I went through is for this, and it's not for myself. It's for me to help someone else as well. Because I have people that I talk to on the side that I'm able to encourage or talk to because I've been through what they are dealing with. But I always tell God, like, I do want to get to a point where I'm able to share it on a bigger level, a bigger scale, but not until you feel I'm ready.
Right. That's
and
important.
I remember coming into 2025, I said, this year I want to use my voice more. I don't want to just keep writing in my notes, you know, texting certain people, just, you know, feeling safe enough to deposit what I'm feeling or how I'm feeling, but I want an opportunity to share it. So I feel like this year I'm at that point where opportunities are coming. I'm like, okay, so God hurt me, and if you're opening a door, then you're telling me, you're stamping that I'm in a good space.
Yeah.
And I feel well enough inside where
Absolutely.
it's like, I'm ready to share. So I feel like this is like the beginning of me being able to branch out and share my story.
And you can definitely hear it too. Like you can hear, I feel like when a sign that a person has healed from something that they've gone through that done some damage to them, is when they can still identify the message of hope, or when they can still identify the purpose behind what they've been through. And from the very moment we had our first conversation, I was just like, okay, you teaching me something. Calm down, little one. Calm down.
Calm down, little one.
So I was extremely happy to hear your process, but also to hear that you still have a message to share hope and to encourage other people behind it. So I was like extremely happy about that.
Thank you.
So knowing what you know now in regards to having access to all the promises that God has for you and that He have said, this is what's going to happen. I just need you to take heed to me. Knowing that, is there anything you would have said to yourself while you were going through? What would it be?
In that moment, I would tell myself, Aliyah, calm down. Chaos is not the end. It's literally preparation for purpose.
Period. And we're going to end it with that. It is literally preparation for I love that.
Preparation for purpose.
That's what it's for. And that's like a message to everyone who's going through. Calm down.
It's like when you choose to renovate a building and you decide you want to build it from the ground up, you got to break it all down. And then when it comes back up, it's in layers. But when it's finally done, it's like, woo, it doesn't even look like what it looked like before, you know?
Yeah.
So the chaotic period of breaking it down, smoke everywhere, smells, fumes, everything is going crazy, everything is wild. But as you start to see it, like, oh wow, it's starting to build back up, and you start to watch the process of it, and then you see the bigger purpose.
That's it.
Yeah.
That helped me just now.
And I've also told myself, go so you could grow.
Goals. Yep. That part.
To be continued.